I'm excited about now that the Netherlands is pretty much on most tour posters from projects coming to Europe. You know, that Leiden, a lot of times Leiden, but also Amsterdam, that is a part of a regular tour schedule for people now. That is because before, you know, if you wanted to play in Belgium, it was then Belgium near the French border, and then Berlin, and then you go to the north or the east of Europe. So I'm excited about that we have that going on now. And
This is White Centipede Noise Podcast, where we give language to noise. I'm Oscar Brummel, and today my guest is Jim Breedveld, who runs Charnel Ground, booking and promoting shows in the Leiden and Amsterdam area of the Netherlands, and running a small label under the same name. Jim also makes noise as GESELING, as well as a number of other collaborative efforts, and has toured the US and Europe extensively. The fourth installment of its annual festival, Crude Transmissions, is taking place at Resistor in Leiden on May 24th, and features a great international lineup including Parasite Nurse, JHK, Violent Shogun, Vincent Dallas, Lorenzo Abattoir, and many more. Tickets are going fast but can still be bought at www.resistor.nl. Unfortunately, the video file from one of my cameras got corrupted about 10 minutes in, so if you notice a difference in how the camera angle's cut, that's why. This is part 1 of the episode. To watch or listen to the full episode, go to patreon.com/whitecentipedenoise. By supporting White Centipede Noise Podcast on Patreon, not only do you get access to full podcast episodes, you also get access to bonus WCN TV content, the Maniac Circle Discord server, digital and physical giveaways, and much more. Huge thanks to Maggie, Jordan, Christos, Josh, Shane, Matt, Klaus, and all other Patreon supporters that make White Centipede Noise Podcast possible. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. This episode is sponsored by Rural Isolation Project. Visit ruralisolationproject.com or ruralisolationproject.bandcamp.com to order, or look for them at a distro near you. All right, Jim, hello, and welcome to White Centipede Noise Podcast at WCN Studios.
thanks for having me.
Very cool of you to come by. Before I introduce you, you know, we're friends. We've been working together pretty consistently on and off as a, you know, kind of a EU connection since I moved here in 2015. Maybe not that long that we've been in touch, but you've been an active ally, I would say, for the past several years for sure, in terms of, you know, based in the Netherlands, things going on. And but why don't you just, you know, introduce yourself before I introduce you, just who you are, a little bit about what you do, and I'll ask you more questions.
Well, I'm active with some projects, GESELING, namely. Way back in 2012, I had another project, Staalkracht, which maybe some people know still or remember. And mostly people probably know about Charnel Ground and the shows I put on, and in Leiden mostly, at our stage, Resistor that we have there.
Yeah.
And also occasionally outside of Leiden.
Yeah. So yeah, you're a big, I would say, force or pillar in the EU noise scene in terms of getting shows booked, promoting shows. So tell me about Charnel Ground. When did you start doing that, and how's that going? How's it developed?
I started Charnel Ground in 2019, which I guess it started because I am a volunteer and I work at this venue in Leiden, which used to be called Vrijplaats Leiden, and now we have our own stage in there, which is called Resistor, which gave me the opportunity to put on shows. And at some point, I was talking about doing noise shows, and some of the other bookers were like, "Well, start doing your noise shows here." And that's when I booked my first show. From that point on, I just went on with it.
Yeah.
But it was like 1 or 2 shows a year, or two or three maybe. Yeah.
The space Resistor is quite remarkable. You'll have to tell me more about it, but I've played there a couple of times and gotten to a couple of shows there, and you know, it's designated, at least to my knowledge, as like kind of a collective. I don't know if it's like a proper autonomous zone, but it seems to be run with this kind of collectivist anarcho spirit, but it's very, very professional, and high quality. The interior of the venue is very, very nice. The restaurant is very nice, and the room where the shows happen and the sound system is very, very nice. The sound system is great sound, really clean, loud sound, and it has everything that a professional, rock venue
Yeah.
should have, but with a more, I would say, welcoming, open, free attitude, it seems, to how you guys do things there.
Yeah, it grew out of basically some squads before, some squads in Leiden. And in 2012, I think, 2012, after the eviction of one of the former squads, they gained this building and started building on it. It was like an empty factory building. Started building on it, but it still keeps the same spirit as before. Only a bit more professional than at those places. Even our old bar in the same building was way different. The first noise shows were in those bars or in that bar, and the PA it sucks. Sometimes you would get like crackling sounds that you didn't want to have, and we only had a little stage. We could basically only do like singer-songwriters and stuff, but we still already had the kitchen, the restaurant, and that vibe going, and we slowly built it on the new space, and we tried to keep that vibe, but it's more professional. We have a professional PA now, and also the kitchen. It's a professional kitchen for a restaurant. So,
do you guys have professional kind of outside help and in the planning and also with like the funding of that place, or from the city? Is that, or is it all independent?
No, it's not from the city. Back then when we started the project, there was a crowdfunding action, which we were able to gain like 40,000 euros, I think, through just people, also other venues helping us out, promoting this. Bands was a compilation CD that was put out with all kinds of bands that played there before or at the former squads. And there is from cultural foundations, we got some money as well to build the place. And when it comes to the PA, there are professional people that are half in Resistor and half like active at a building in the same street, which is where the practice rooms are. And these guys are professional sound people. It's their job. And they helped us to pick the PA and the amps and everything.
Yeah.
Also, we got some of our stuff donated by the biggest museum in Leiden, actually, Naturalis. All our lights came from the museum.
Wow.
And the speakers that we use in our bar, they all gave it to us. They donated it.
Scream and Writhe and Disaster Sources present the third edition of Initial Shock, taking place July 5th and 6th, 2025 in Montreal, Canada, featuring Mass Marriage, Death Kneel, Matriarch, Apologist, K.M. Tupfer, Anne F. Jacques, Shadow Pattern, Taskmaster, Nauseous Ejector, Lindsay Algieri, Gerzkel, Widdershins, Karaba, Mother Mary, Eunuch God, and many more. Initial Shock is sponsored by White Centipede Noise, Factor, Canada Council for the Arts, Untitled Zine, Rocker Magazine, CJLO, CKUT, Pizza Bouquet, and Pensione Popolo. Tickets available at initialshock.screamandride.com and at the door. Europe in general, but I think particularly countries like Netherlands, have a really strong squatting culture that's sort of alien, I would say, to people from the States. Or not an alien, but it's not as prevalent there, at least not in recent times.
No, New York maybe.
Right.
Had some of that.
Yeah, but I think that's long gone, as it is seemingly around Europe. Maybe not gone, but it seems very challenged, or hard to maintain in the same way. I would guess, due to the increasing development and things like that are happening economically. But tell me about squat culture and why it's important and your connection to it.
I think in the Netherlands, those were the places that were open to noise gigs. You can't really do noise gigs at as people back then would say, a proper venue. You would have to go to a squat bar or whatever. Those were the people that were open to it. Also because a lot of the squatting movement in the Netherlands in the past was linked to the art movement as well, which I guess noise was more accepted in those circles than in your regular metal bar or punk bar. They will probably figure what the fuck's this, get out of here. And so I think that's why it's important, squatting culture for noise specifically, also punk. And in the Netherlands, it used to be pretty big and active because of the laws in the Netherlands.
Right.
Countries like Spain had really strict laws. There were a lot of squatters from Spain, also in the Netherlands, and from Portugal and England, especially also Leiden. You had squads that were full with Scots and English people. You had Spanish squads. You had all these different squads there. And in Amsterdam it was the same, a lot of Polish squatters. Yeah. It was a lot easier to do it here or in the Netherlands than in Poland or Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they changed the laws a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So now it's not that easy anymore in the Netherlands.
How has it changed?
I don't know it exactly, but I think before you were able to go into a building and sort of gather proof that you were living there, so proof of living.
Yeah.
You would take pictures, and other people would go with their lawyer to the cops and then show like, hey, they are in this building and they live here, and then you would have living rights. So they can't right away evict you. There would first have to be like the owner had to go to court, try to get you out there, and then there would be an eviction. I think nowadays it's different. Now I think they can get you out of the building before, then start a lawsuit, and then you could possibly win it. But if you win it, all your stuff is gone already. So it's not that easy anymore to do it. I think it's kind of I don't know all the specifics, but it's not that easy anymore to squat. And you also notice it's not that big of a movement anymore right now. But lately, because there's a big shortage of housing in the Netherlands, students are starting to pick it up a bit again, which is basically how the squatting movement started in the Netherlands. It were mostly students that started it.
You know, as we seem to be on the cusp of a housing, potentially financial crisis, or at least, you know, shift or difficulties, things are really going in a certain direction. Do you think there will be a pushback and kind of a resurgence of squatting culture? Do you think there's hope for that?
I mean, it would be good. It would be a good thing, I think, at least. You know, when there's a shortage of houses, that's one way to deal with it. But I don't know. I mean, it's really different. We notice it as well now with running a venue like we do. It's all run by volunteers. And if you talk to young people now and you talk about, hey, maybe you want to get involved, you can book your own shows here. Yeah. Then people hear like, oh, you don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
They don't show up or they don't come. You know, it's like, it's a different mindset, I guess, now. Not everyone, of course. You have young people coming in, but not as much.
Yeah.
You know, if I would have, when I was a teenager, someone told me, here, book the bands you want, you would grab it like right away. Yeah. You would go with it, but it's different.
Is Resistor like safe in terms of its legitimacy and its staying power, or is it squat also?
So no, it's not a squat. It's we own the building. We bought it for €1, I think, but we bought it. Cool. It's a symbolic thing because the whole building was damaged. You know, no window was. All the windows were broken. Everything. Yeah. There was nothing being done with the building. Yeah. And I think it might have been a way for the city as well to think, okay, if this group has this building where they can do their activities, there won't be much squatting going on. So I think that's kind of why they went with it as well. Yeah. So it's owned by us, or basically by the vereniging. It's a foundation called the Koppeningssteeg, which was the address of the old squat, and they run the building, and then all these different separate groups, we build our own space in it. We pay rent to use it. Yeah.
Squatting culture oftentimes seems to be connected with punk. You mentioned the noise kind of history with it, but are you kind of the only one doing this kind of real industrial noise type thing there at this place? And were you the one that kind of brought that to the space?
At Resistor, I'm the only one now. Yeah. I think a lot of volunteers probably condone me doing it. A lot of people are not into it, you know, that are active there, but because I also do other shows and other people let me do the shows there. Yeah. No, I think generally the background is more people like more punk music and stuff from the volunteers that are active there. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of punk shows going on, some metal and cross punk, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So how's it been going? Because you seem to be increasingly active with the shows and the noise shows. And I usually when someone asks me who can I contact about playing in Europe, I don't know that many people around Europe that I'm like, you can really contact this person and they have their shit together. And not that it's guaranteed, but they at least will be able to give you a clear answer because
Yeah.
they book. I mean, Spain, Italy,
Difficult.
difficult. France,
Spain especially difficult.
yeah. Spain, Germany. There's Brett, Total Black. Other than that,
I think for a long time there was, and still is, there's a gap now that Leiden is also a city that you can play it, or Amsterdam, between Leiden and like Berlin.
yeah,
Like there's not really something in between. I think there are some people that book noisy stuff. I don't know them personally, and it's not like they do it very often.
right.
So no.
So, but it's going well because, like I said in kind of the intro, you've kind of established yourself as
Yeah.
the guy and as Leiden as a place to play. I always point people towards you. I don't know how many people you get contacting you on a regular basis and how many you're able to do, but I'm always like, well, ask Jim. Ask Jim in Leiden. He's got a great space. He's a great guy. Does he can maybe help you out, and that's really important. I mean, playing at a place like that is, when you're on tour, is really, really, I wouldn't say a luxury, but it's very, very nice. I mean, it's you treat people really well. It's a nice space, nice venue. People, it's not just some half-assed thing.
No, definitely not. No, I think a lot of people contact me right now, actually. So it's growing, and that's also why I'm not just putting on shows in Leiden anymore.
Yeah.
I do it now also in Oki in Amsterdam.
Oh, cool.
Because one is I get people ask me to do a show, and then we already have another show at our venue.
Yeah.
And if I really like, the project, whatever, I want to put it on.
Yeah.
So I know Oki is open to it because Kevin from Zwartwit, he runs his Tide of the End shows there. So they at Oki, the volunteers, are open to it, and the contact person that I have there, Sjoerd, is also really open to it. He really likes it. So I can occasionally go there if I can't put it in Leiden.
Mm-hmm.
Also, some artists specifically ask to play in Amsterdam.
Right.
So now that I know that's an option, I can ask. And if I get a yes, I can do it in Amsterdam, or otherwise maybe in Leiden. And I also did, a couple months ago, I did in Utrecht for the first time as well.
Tell me about your fest, Crude Transmissions, that you do.
Yeah. It grew out of it's a festival I put on after a couple of shows got canceled during the Corona crisis or pandemic, or COVID, I should say.
Yeah.
And I had a show booked. Every time it had to move. We had another lockdown.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it, and you had the night. How do you call that? The clock. We had to stay in at night.
Oh,
in the
right.
Netherlands.
Yeah, curfew.
So yeah, the curfew. Yeah, we couldn't do shows in the evening. So every time I had to, and I've been playing around with this idea of a festival. I saw fests like End Times and Summer's Come in the US, and I hate that we don't have something like that going on here. A bit more, that's you have some industrial festivals in Europe, but not like really like noise fest.
It's
not
true.
as much. You know? I mean, Total Black Dust, of course, is fest, but other than that, not many going on.
Yeah.
I think No Fun did in the past in Sweden as well.
Yeah,
but that's
20 years
been a while. Yeah. So I try to do that, but keep it in the same spirit as the venue. So our ticket prices are really low always. Mm-hmm. So even now the fest has like 15 projects this year, and it's still €10 to go in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we try to keep it with that mentality. Of course, the people can stay at a venue. The people that play, and they know the deal. But I started it because I had to postpone this event the whole time, and then it seemed like we finally came out of the last lockdown, and I was like, screw it, we just make it a fest.
So you had all these shows that had kind of built up, and you put them together.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's like, let's just make it a fest, and I didn't know if it was going to work, but surprisingly there was interest, and I think it surprised me when I started getting emails from some guys from Italy, like, hey, we are booking our plane. How are the restrictions in the Netherlands? Because of course you had this all the different restrictions in every country. So they were like, can we just get in? Do we need something specific? I was like, there's some guys from Italy coming to Leiden to watch the fest. But yeah, then I noticed there was interest in it and seemed to go. You played at the first
Right.
one, so
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Moosehead, Vincent Dallas.
Yeah.
No, you played with Sister Rossi.
Together, yeah, we did. That was the first time we played together.
Yeah.
As Misere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other cool stuff too. Yeah, that was fun. What is the health of Resistor and your activities there going forward, in the sense of like, is it something that seems that it's going to be continue on long term, or is it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of the bookers at Resist already. I'm part of the programming group, so I'm not thinking about going away there. So I guess as long as I'm there, at least there are going to be noise shows.
Cool.
Unless everybody's using a fatal right, like don't do this shit anymore at our venue. But other than that, no, I'll probably continue doing this. Yeah.
Cool.
I like it. I like the fact that we can, like you said, in Europe, there are not many places like that are consistently booking shows. So I like the fact that now we have Kortrijk, of course, in Belgium,
right,
with Dries at the pits.
Right.
That's a place where people can play. That's
another place worth mentioning. I usually point people towards them too, and not to put more weight on Dries' shoulders, but
no,
also a great place to personally contact if you're playing in that area of Europe. The Pits is a great venue, and Dries is a sweet guy.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
No, but sometimes we do it together as well. You know, he has somebody and he tells them, hey, maybe you can do it in Leiden. We write each other.
Yeah.
And we set it up so people have already 2 shows. I guess from people from the US, it's kind of like, oh, that's already 2 countries.
Yeah.
It's only 3 hours of traveling.
Right. They're similar. I guess from an American perspective, they're kind of similar, but they're not that. I mean, they have their differences, right? What language do you and Dries speak together?
Dutch.
Okay.
Yeah. He speaks Dutch.
He speaks Dutch.
Yeah.
Is that his?
Or maybe he likes it more when I say Flemish. But
yeah. Okay.
I mean, we basically speak the same language. In Belgium, I mean, of course, he speaks French as well.
Okay.
But I think his first language is probably Dutch. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your connection to the old school of the Dutch noise scene. There are a few kind of older projects, somewhat obscure, but with some real history and significance. Odal, for example.
Yeah. I guess for me, that's probably I know the most was Peter Zinke with his project Odal. He did a lot of other projects, too many to name. He was also involved with the fucking Bastards. And, he's been around, and also I guess one of the most consistent people that he's still going to shows. I don't know, there have been people in the past that made noise or industrial, but they also kind of disappeared.
Right.
I think Peter has always been around, you know, and he's still going to shows. I see him at almost every show.
Wow.
Yeah, at least the shows in Amsterdam, you always see him there.
And he did a fest recently, or I don't know if he did it, but he played at a fest recently. Had this crazy flyer, unfortunately, right?
I don't know the name of the fest, but it was in Maarheesen, which is a small village in Brabant. I got invited as well to play, but I had at the same time an offer from Portugal, and then it fell through. And then I think when I messaged back, actually Dries got the spot.
Oh, okay.
So Vincent Dallas was playing instead. But he played, and Zach, of course, with...
yes.
I never know if I pronounce it right. Awenith.
I think it's Awenith, yeah.
Awenith.
Also a great project, based in the Netherlands, but not Dutch in origin.
No.
American guy living in the Netherlands.
Yeah, but it's one of the best projects that's going around in not just the Netherlands.
It's
it's really good stuff. I mean, I released something of him, of course, as well, but all of his releases are good.
It's a really good project.
He's pumping them out like crazy.
Yeah, he's very, very consistent.
he's really
and
active,
prolific, and doing a lot. And he does a lot of experimentation. I feel like he's really, really trying a lot of different stuff. It seems like he's having fun with it somehow. It's like he's really like in his zone and just putting out a lot of different interesting stuff. And
I guess in many ways he's in his zone. I think he's at a good spot here, or being in the Netherlands now.
Yeah.
Funny enough, we got in contact through the Discord thing because I think he said something like, hey, I'm living in the Netherlands now.
Yeah.
Where can I find noise shows?
Yeah.
I think you tagged me then.
Oh, okay.
Talk with this guy.
Oh, okay, cool.
We started talking. I invited him and he went to the show. And I think not that long afterwards, I invited him to play the other show you played in Leiden.
Right.
Yeah. With Star and you. Yeah. So, but when it comes to the old scene, I mean, Johnny is not that old, but Seartox, he's also really in contact with Peter, and he do a lot of stuff together.
Dead Mind Records, right?
Dead Mind Records, yeah. He's been active for quite a while already. And of course, way in the past, it's not necessarily just noise, but Frans de Waard.
Right.
Been he's around. He's been around, and he's still around. So.
Of course. How have things changed in the Dutch noise scene since you first started getting active until now?
Good question. I think when I started getting active, I was living a bit isolated. So I wasn't really, the first couple of years that I was busy with noise, I wasn't really near a scene or shows because I was living on an island in the south of the Netherlands. And we had an old bunker there where we would go to punk shows. Every month you had a punk show or metal. You had some death metal stuff going around there, but there was nothing for noise there. So all I knew about noise was pretty much online. Everything I found online, and then I started making noise. My first contacts were through internet as well. And then, so I can't really say much, but I know Kevin was already doing shows back then. He's been doing shows for quite a while, actually, already. So he did the Tide of the End shows in Amsterdam at Oki, and sometimes at some other place called Frankrijk. And I guess in Poortgebouw in Rotterdam is another venue that had noise shows, which surrounded more around the people of fucking bastards and all. So they had shows, but it wasn't as often as it is now. I think especially now that Kevin is also doing his shows again in Amsterdam, we have quite a lot of shows going on.
Yeah.
I think about 2 years ago, it was at the height pretty much, because there was a Bomi, a woman from South Korea. She was living in Amsterdam, and she was putting on shows in a bunker in the Vondelpark. So she had her shows, and then you had Kevin doing shows, and I did shows. It seemed at some point we could actually have like 3 or 4 shows a month to go to, which is a lot for the Netherlands. Yeah. Especially of how small the country is. In 3 hours, you can be on the other side. So.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've played a big role in increasing the activity in the country?
I think it's a joint effort of people, but of course I added some to it, at least another spot to put on shows. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me about GESELING.
GESELING, yeah.
How do you like English speakers or non-Dutch speakers to pronounce it? GESELING?
Yeah, I mean,
what does the word mean?
GESELING means flogging, basically. Yeah. But I guess in Dutch you can use it as also for like not just the physical thing, but also mentally flogging yourself. So it's mentale geesteling, which is always what I aimed more at than the physical act of flogging, you know. So you pronounce it as geesteling, and I think Americans say GESELING. GESELING. Yeah.
Now, you played in the United States recently. You toured a year or so ago with Dries. You played End Times.
Yeah, it was a little more than a year now. Yeah, it was early April that we did it. Yeah, we played. We first got the idea to play there because of Luke Dandy. Yeah, he played here at the fest, at Crude Transmissions Fest, and then we played the day after all together at the Pits in Kortrijk.
He played with
Heat Signature. Right. Yeah, him and Brad were here, and we traveled with Sisto in the car. We went to Belgium. I think after that show, Luke mentioned like, you guys should play the US. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's possible at all. You know, that never seemed like a possibility. And he said, well, at Skeleton Dust we could play. So that was basically the seed that got planted, that we could do it, possibly. Yeah. But then after I played a show with JHK and Parasite Nurse, also at the Pits, a couple months later. And then I think after I played a set, Jackson told me like, you should play at End Times. Oh, cool. I was like, I would love to, but you know, I don't know if Bob wants me to have me there. You know, he doesn't know me probably, and he said no, but I book as well. So he wanted us to play, Dries and I. So I think that's when we realized, a tour is actually possible. If you can play End Times, we already have New York, and then we can do something in Ohio, the Skeleton Dust, We just have to find shows in between and back, and then we have a tour. That was kind of how simple it was. I mean, I kind of booked the shows.
Yeah.
I just looked at the map and just tried to figure out like where is what are cities that I know throughout the years that I saw on a lot of posters.
Yeah.
And then reach out to the people that are active there and try to get a tour together. But first, we were planning to do it with trains and stuff. And I realized pretty quickly that this is going to be a disaster.
Doesn't work in the US.
No, so while I was trying to work that out, Jackson already sent a message like, hey, what do you guys think about if I join you guys, and I'll drive you around, which was the best. That really finished the plans, to do it. That made it possible.
Awesome.
Because I think with trains, and we had to do less shows. If you miss a bus, I already realized you had to do use these Greyhound buses. If you miss one, you're fucked,
I think I interviewed Dries right before.
Yeah, you did.
You guys left. But I know because of the customs issue of playing at end times, or just basically entering the United States.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it at all. We kept it under wraps because
Yeah.
you didn't want to have an issue of someone Googling him at the border and saying, oh, you're here to play shows.
Yeah,
so,
we talked about it a bit before he was on the show because we didn't know what to expect because you hear different stories about the US. Some people say it's really, for us, it was really simple.
Yeah.
We came in, a guy looked at us, told us, what are you going to do? And we're visiting some friends. He said, well, welcome to the US.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But we do hear about experiences from other people that are really bad.
Right.
Yeah, even going as far as people searching through your phones.
Right.
To find stuff. And
Yeah.
We had to be careful with it. It's not like, mostly because, you save money up for it to travel there. The tickets aren't cheap.
Yeah.
If you go back, you have to pay your own ticket. So it's,
that would be catastrophic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys were like the surprise guests.
Which felt awkward.
That's cool.
It's. I think it was really cool because Bob put us like that. But then I saw we didn't know the full lineup before. So you see people getting announced like John Weiss and then it's like, okay, if people see all these names and then we get announced the last day, people go, oh, these surprise act, this is going to be something. And it's like GESELING, I don't know. People are probably like, how do you pronounce that? And who is that?
No, well, I'm sure people were excited. By then people also knew you and you've been active and you've been, I think probably through that tour with JHK and Parasite Nurse and anytime those kind of connections are made internationally, that does a lot in terms of spreading the seeds on another continent. I'm sure Luke and Brad coming over and meeting you guys and playing with you and going back, then it was even in there just little radius, and they were spreading the seeds these guys are good, they're cool, they're coming, so I'm sure people on the ground were pretty stoked.
Yeah, and that was even spontaneous with Luke and Brad because it was just, I think he posted something like a video of, this is why I like having a record store. Some guy from the Netherlands ordered this and he sent me a video.
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, you should come to the Netherlands. Basically just reacted on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then we started talking and I think he said oh, I might have to do that.
Yeah.
Then I think a couple of weeks later, it's like, no, but I'm actually seriously thinking about doing it. And then...
Cool.
Plan. So things like that happen spontaneously, but it does help, of course. By then, we had quite some projects from the US passing by. You had Heat Signature, Star already, Parasite Nurse, JHK, Black Letter Jesus.
Yeah.
All these projects. It definitely helps.
Yeah. How was the US tour?
It was great. Yeah, it was really good. And also with Dries, because I think people knew Dries more than me, so people were excited about seeing Vincent Dallas, which I was excited to see Dries every night. So that was really good. I think that's the thing I might have liked the most about the whole tour, seeing Dries play every night and see him grow every set. You know, just because this guy lost everything about noise, and seeing him play every night, and he played awesome sets.
Yeah,
I think Jackson and I were every night. Many times he was playing after us, and every night Jackson and I were just looking at each other like, yeah, he's on.
Yeah.
Every time when he started going,
he puts everything into it, really.
Yeah, that was the best, and of course the people we hooked up with, being with Jackson.
Yeah,
he's a great guy. he took care of us with end times, and Bob as well. Teach me a lot about running a fest, playing there, about things I might be able to improve for. From the moment you land and they pick you up from the airport and introducing you to people the first night you're there, and the whole fest, it's a great experience. So that was the best start to have on a tour, really.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you feel a lot of hospitality?
A lot, yeah. Actually, I noticed a lot of people from the US would always tell me, this thing's like a place to sleep, getting food.
Yeah, nice.
This is not, don't expect this in the US. But then I guess we hit up the right people, because we got all of this at pretty much every place. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I talk about that sometimes from my experience in the podcast, and I complain about that. But when I was touring, no one really wanted me to be there. It was like, no one was like really like, hey, come here. It was just like, I'm going on a tour, contact these people, like, can I play here? And I was like, okay, you can play here. But it wasn't much beyond that. So, I mean, I think if you hit up if you connect with the right people and you've kind of put in those connections ahead of time, you can have a really good time in the US. I think there is something about the US DIY spirit, and, there's a lot of warmth that comes with it, and a lot of, it's independent really in a different way than Europe. So
no, it's really, I mean, we obviously at Luke, we arrived there a day before so we could hang out with him as well, because we just wanted to meet up with him. Yeah. That's first of all, we just wanted to meet up with Luke again, and playing a show was second, Yeah. And we stayed at their house, and the day we arrived, there was solar eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
So basically he was waiting for us. As soon as we got out of the car, it was like a few minutes until it would happen. Wow. And then he already had he also had glasses for us, but Jackson already arranged some glasses. He was ready, and we got out of the car, we dropped our stuff in his house, and we went to a house in the neighborhood from friends of them. Yeah. We got like the American experience in the garden, looking with professional telescopes. And, we were just laying there in the garden watching a solar eclipse. It was cool. Yeah. Awesome. It was really nice. And then staying at their place was nice. And same goes for Roman, that took care of us in Cleveland. He takes really good care of you. And then we stayed at the Noise Widow farm after we played in Ithaca. Yeah. Which Kate and Weston are awesome, and Seven, who were put on the show, is really nice. So no, everybody took good care of us.
This is the end of part 1 of the interview with Jim. In the full version, we go on to discuss more about his project GESELING, balancing family life with noise, the origin story of snake oil immersions, his collaboration with Vincent Dallas and Resistor Rossi, recording in vintage studios with Ash, his collaboration with Svartfit, using the Dutch language, putting Netherlands on the map for international noise tours, the workload of organizing shows, top fives, and much more. And just to go off script a bit here, this episode today was recorded in the studio, as you can see, with Jim. He came by, visited me here in Potsdam. I'm really amazed and thankful for this space now, how it's developed. But, particularly being able to record in-person podcast episodes with people involved in noise, which has always seemed like it would be something very, very impossible to do, just since we're so scattered in the world, such a niche, really small community of people that really care about this. And to be in a place now where I can kind of congregate and concentrate people that are really into this stuff and come by and share their thoughts and stories is something I'm really, really, really just grateful for, and appreciate everyone who has supported this operation via Patreon to get it to this point. If you're listening to this, if you watch the podcast and it's something you appreciate and take value from, I would really ask that you consider supporting the podcast via Patreon. I've gone on quite a limb here with this space. It was an essential thing to do to balance the podcast work with my home and family life. There's a lot of overhead involved in this and a lot of hours that go into producing this podcast. So Patreon support is really essential for keeping this going and allowing it to sustain itself where it's at and grow into the future. I've recently kind of simplified and restructured the Patreon so that €10 a month gets you access to everything. All of the bonus WCN TV episodes that I do every other week, as well as the full episodes of the podcast. When you subscribe at that level, you also get access to the Discord server, which is like a semi-private noise forum/chat room where all the former guests are invited, as well as all Patreon supporters. It gets you a 15% off discount on White Centipede Noise releases. There is a special private link called the WCN Bazaar where I list rare items from the shop for online sale. We try to give away bonus digital content. Like today's episode, we have some tracks from Keseling and Snake Oil Merchants. And if you support at the €25 a month level, you get all new White Centipede Noise CDs for free in the mail. And I really try to keep as much bonus and special content coming for those who support this as possible. This is a 100% independent operation and a very small and dedicated community that I'm covering. There's no YouTube monetization or lucrative commercial sponsors. It is entirely brought to you by noise heads and fans of underground culture and outsider music. So if that describes you and you enjoy the podcast and you want to see it keep going, please support at patreon.com/White Centipede Noise.